The fantastic copperplate engravings and works of art are about 380 years old and are all the work of Matthias Merian de Altier, otherwise known as Matthew the Elder, born 430 years ago in the year 1593. He is considered as one of the greatest of the copperplate artists ever. You can see, a lot of people see these old illustrations and they think they're pen and ink, and they're not. They're copperplate. These are engravings. They're very meticulously done. You can easily see here his attention to detail, symmetry, and perspective. The balance of light and shadow with nature. It's amazing. A true artist of both the human form, landscape, cartography, and architecture. Here in this picture you see a star fort in Europe, which to me is no real mystery. As such a defensible zigzagging perimeter walls, it maximizes the ability of the defenders to strike attackers from multiple vantage points. Here his artwork was published in a music book. I have brought to your attention his penchant for accuracy, because it's important to understand that when we need to understand that he was very meticulous about detail, because we're going to examine his alchemical masterpieces. In this chart by Matthew the Elder, titled The Great Chain from God to Nature and from Nature to Man, we find that God is represented in the cloud in the Hebrew, a clue that alchemy had both Hermetic and Kabbalic origins. The female here is Mother Nature, and she governs the celestial spheres where the zodiacal powers rest and the spheres of the sun and moon. She is chained to God, but below her, sitting on the world, is a monkey chained to her. The monkey in alchemy represents mankind because humans are the chief of the animals, the smartest. The monkey was regarded as being the closest to mankind, and there can be no doubt that the establishment, after alchemy fell out of vogue, then invented the evolutionary model of humans descending from primates based on these older alchemical concepts. But in the alchemical treatises, humans were made perfect from the beginning. In these old charts, it is important to take note of the positioning of the astrological symbols, for these provide the viewer with an important date. For those of you who are adept at astrology, if you decipher this date on this and another chart I'm about to show, please provide those in the comment section. This is the great meteorological chart that Matthew the Elder made in the year 1623. At the top, God is shown among the orders of the angels. Below, these on the left and on the right, outside the celestial dome, these are the astrological programs that govern over the world. The one on the right, blown up here, is a date. The illustration reveals that tornadoes, called turbos here in Latin, and windstorms, torrential rains, even rains of stones from the sky, and fire falling from the sky, these are all meant to chastise mankind. Several types of sky phenomena are found here, and they can be cross-referenced with the same unusual sky phenomena found in the Book of Wonders, as seen here. Comets that turn in the sky, clouds that burn like fire, and the fiery rods that sometimes look like burning logs in the sky. On the surface, historians tell us that these charts were describing meteorological concepts, and indeed they are. However, the alchemical treatises have always exhibited on the surface what was otherwise hidden to all, save for the astute observer. At the bottom there is a man sleeping below a ribbon that reads, in Latin, "Man is the perfection and end of all the creatures of the world." The idea is that the world existed prior to mankind, as did the animals, and God created mankind out of all the best ingredients taken from the animal kingdoms. This was divine alchemy. But mankind was made in the image of God, and God wasn't made from animal ingredients. So the deeper meaning here is that this chart is referring to the avatar and not the immortal spirit within. The avatar is a part of the animal world, subject to the phenomena of nature and the sky that both heals and harms the avatar. And this sleeping man represents the fact that mankind is asleep, living in a dream construct, a maya, a world of phenomena and not of fact. A modern example is the Matrix movie, with humans asleep and living out a dream in a construct. Centuries ago, no one had the frames of reference for matrix or simulation or virtual reality or holofield. The idea of superconstructions had already entered the ancient mindset a few times, but the concept was always later forgotten. The world was viewed as part of a larger mechanism, and in the alchemical masterpieces, we see how these were conceptualized. Alchemical text and illustrations often used allegory and symbolism to convey complex ideas. The ultimate goal of alchemy was the great work, or the magnum opus, the process of transmuting base metals into gold. An allegory for understanding and basically manipulating the fundamental structure of reality to bring forth what you want. One needed the Philosopher's Stone to comprehend the great work. And as I have shown many times in my presentations, the souls of men were anciently referred to as stones. Soul and stone was interchangeable, like the blocks of the Great Pyramid. On my t-shirt, 2.5 million blocks made this gigantic 454-foot high monument. But in Antiquity, every single block represented a soul that was included in the monument of man. And when that monument is made complete, the chief cornerstone will descend. He is the Philosopher's Stone. He is the stone the builders rejected. Excuse me. So, alchemy, it held that the microcosm, the individual, and the macrocosm, the whole universe, they mirrored one another, reflecting a reality that is interconnected and possibly constructed. Alchemy and Hermeticism are inextricably intertwined in this way, in this belief in a microcosm and macrocosm, this belief that as above, so below. This amazing chart was published and made known to the world in the year 1626 in a book released by Robert Flood, featured in Cosmic Meteorology. As many of you know, the year 1626 was a Phoenix year on the 138-year chronology of Phoenix resets and edits. And speaking of the Phoenix, we cannot ignore this alchemical masterpiece made by Johann Daniel Mylius, who had made this stunning piece just 5 years before Matthew the Elder did his own copperplate engraving. Both men were alive and making their copper plates at the exact same time. Here, the celestial realms are above the terrestrial, with the unifying principles governed by astrology. A pyramid is at the middle of a concentric series of spheres. These are programs in astrology, a construct. In the world of men, this is governed by a strange 10-month zodiac having all avians, birds, dragons, and a phoenix. Directly below is a representation of Father Time holding two starry hatchets, representing day and night amidst a grove of astrology trees. The man and woman in this construct are chained to God, meaning there is a connection between them and the oversoul that the rest of the beings in the construct do not share. As alchemy on the surface concerns turning base materials into something of value, then the deeper meaning is that this is spiritual alchemy, and these humans are avatars housing spirits chained to God. The construct is governed by polarities, day and night, fire and water, but the key to understanding and unlocking the construct itself is found in the cleverly hidden heptagrams found at the feet of the man and the lion at the left part of the chart. These are 7 pointed stars that produce the pyramid angle in geometry and represent the keeping of time, as I've shown in my published books and prior videos, the ancient Chaldean, the Celtic Druidic heptagrams, as well as the Egyptian. Even Bonnie Gaunt in her books represents the heptagrams as showing the angle of the Great Pyramid itself. These 7 pointed stars in the old Chaldean Babylonian cosmos, it totally represented the 7 days of the week and the 7 epochs of the world. These 2 heptagrams link to the sun, which is held by the man and the lion, forms a perfect triangle, our pyramid. And in the center of the pyramid is clearly the word Phoenix. The Great Pyramid, the Phoenix, and keeping of the calendar are all right here in a chart showing humans in a construct but in no real danger because they are tethered to God. Only their avatars are subject to the polarities of the world. The immortal spirits within belong outside the construct where they are actually safe. Guys, Johannes Kepler was alive at this time. He saw these publications. He saw the older alchemical treatises. He saw the turnings of the spheres in many charts, the astrology charts that showed them basically the mechanics of our world. He was exposed to all of this. And what is interesting but almost never mentioned is the fact that alchemy has been discredited as a scientific discipline, but our present model of the solar system with planets orbiting the sun was actually developed and built upon these older alchemical models of the medieval period that showed the wanderers, or the astrological symbols, in their own respective spheres, all going around the sun. And man did not descend from monkeys, my friends. No, it was evolution that descended from alchemy. There is an object hidden in the sky. Our predecessors studied its appearances. Like a vast clockwork apparatus, it appeared on a fixed timeline and disappeared whole civilizations. They have left us records of this invisible eye in the sky and how they hid underground from its face. They feared the return of the Phoenix.